Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're back with another weekly recap, and things were looking kind of boring until just the last couple of days where a ton of interesting stories have come out. First and foremost, Bounty Hunter is officially closed until further notice, and that is directly due to the Tovesta video exposing the criminal amounts of GP that you could get from Bounty Hunter at a very low level and really going against the spirit of the game mode, so that is going to be gone. We'll talk about that in a minute. There is a ton of information on the new Nightmare of Ashihama, which we now know is going to be out on February 6th, 2 weeks from today. And last appeared, there was a teaser for Runelight HD. I'm not sure if my heart can handle another high definition failure, but I'm already invested again. Please let's make this happen. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and let's get started. Okay, so first up here, let's have a look at this week's game update. The name is Wiki Integration, and it seems most likely that this week and next week is going to all be more just quality of life changes, and of course the following week will be the Nightmare of Ashihama's release date on February 6th. This week's update adds Wiki Integration for the official client and more changes from November's game improvement poll. So I think a lot of these features were already featured in Runelight, however they are now coming to the base client, which is always a good thing to get more on that extremely minimalistic client of theirs. The old school RuneScape wiki has been integrated with the official client on both desktop and mobile, which has now added the following features. First appear entity lookup and search. So by right clicking or long pressing on the wiki icon, you're able to look up an entity and click on something and it will automatically search it for you on the wiki. There's also a search option that allows you to enter a term in the chat box and search the wiki for any relevant pages. You can also search by typing :wiki with your search term. And additionally, you can right click on quests or the achievement diary and it'll also give you an option to open up the wiki guide. So I guess the official release has a few extra features over the Runelight release, but still nice to have. Okay, next up here we have more quality of life changes that were from the November poll. First up here, the open and close options have been added to certain receptacles. While open, suitable items will be added to the vessels automatically on pickup. Now this is similar to having an open looting bag. So when you pick something up, it'll automatically go in the vessel, which is really just a nice change. This is now going to work with the seed box, the herb sack, the coal bag, and the gem bag. For the seed box, it's only going to work with items picked off the ground. For the herb sack, it's going to work on any grimy herb picked up on the ground or harvested from herb patches and also harvested from Hespori. For coal, it's only going to work if you mine it. And the gem bag is going to work on any gems obtained while mining or pickpocketing Tazar creatures. Okay, so next up here we have the spice rack. You can now actually build a spice rack in the kitchen of your POH. This requires 60 construction, 3 teak planks, 6 soft clay, and 4 doses of each color of spice. The rack itself can store 2.147 billion doses of each spice. We hope that's enough. I'm really happy with this update. That is going to save a ton of inventory spaces for those who are trying to hoard spices for future uses. Okay, so now for some of the juicy news, and that is mainly to do with Bounty Hunter, although they also bring up Last Man Standing. Now for those who are a little out of the loop, for quite a while now, Bounty Hunter boosting has been a serious problem, ever since they released Bounty Hunter 2 pretty much. Now, a lot of people were already aware of this, but just a few days ago, Tovesta made a video on pretty much an explicit guide on how to boost in Bounty Hunter, and we all know the quickest way to get a fix is to bring it to the masses so that it has to be fixed. So good job to him, it is now fixed, or I guess you could call it not fixed, it is now closed. We're sorry to announce that we've taken the decision to close the Bounty Hunter worlds until further notice. Bounty Hunter's design unfortunately leaves it prey to gold farmers who abuse its mechanics to generate GP in excess of amounts available via legitimate methods. While this had not reached a scale that could affect the in-game economy, it undermines other game content and the overall integrity of the game. Because these issues existed before the rework, we do not believe that simply undoing it would solve them. This is clearly not the outcome that any of us wanted, but right now we're convinced it's the best option available to us. We recognize with the removal of Bounty Hunter will mean that there are some unique items that will be temporarily unavailable. We will not be opening a temporary shop to give access to these items unless we're able to reach a swift resolution. Right now we are discussing both technical and rules enforcement based solutions. You can expect a statement about this in the future of Bounty Hunter tomorrow on Friday, January 24th. Some pretty much players were able to get 7 or 8 million GP an hour just by boosting Bounty Hunter kills, and that pretty much competed with any other method in the entire game, and on top of that you barely needed any requirements to start doing it. Most people thought this was kind of destined to fail just from the first inception of Bounty Hunter 2, and that does seem to kind of be the case. Now, as far as unique rewards that aren't available anymore, I guess they're talking about the unique rewards from the Bounty Hunter shop. like the Magic Shortbow Scroll even, the Saradomin's Tear, the Ring of Wealth Scroll, is that all just going to go up in price right now? Frozen Whip Mix, stuff like that. I'm not really sure what's going to happen to that. Now in the news post, they mentioned technical fixes versus rule-based enforcement. And we all know that rule-based enforcement is very challenging to do. It's not necessarily their fault, but for stuff like botting and other ways people cheat in the game, people get punished, but the sheer amount of bots that can make accounts makes it not very effective. So the only real way to deal with this is from a technical standpoint. There needs to be a solution that prevents players from boosting kills, or at least prevents the grand majority of players, which means they may have to drastically increase the requirements for Bounty Hunter. And while I'm not really an expert at PvP, I do think they need to take away excess stuff that is being generated into the game. PvP is balanced because when you kill another player, you get their stuff. You don't get their stuff plus more gold. So it's always just a transfer of wealth, which means PvP would not be adding to gold inflation, item inflation, stuff like that. It would actually maybe be helping it because people would occasionally not pick up their stuff. It's obviously not an easy solution, but I just think maybe the moderators' hearts aren't in it for PvP. I don't know. Okay, they also mentioned Last Man Standing. In other PvP news, we're enabling the high stakes mode of Last Man Standing on members' LMS worlds. This time you must deposit 50,000 GP to enter. We're also reducing the cost of some items in the LMS reward shop. Wilderness Crab Teleports will now cost 1 point and True Parchments will now cost 30. And as always, there's quite a few minor bug fixes at the end, but that's pretty much it for today's game update. Let's move on. Okay, so first up here, I wanted to go over a little bit of community news, and first up here we have a Runelight update. The loot tracker has been reworked to retain your loot for longer and will load a greater amount of loot data when starting the client. This will make it a lot easier to track your progression when going for those very rare drops. This requires being logged into Runelight. The client shop plugin now has the ability to recolor players that are also on your ignore list. Okay, and speaking of Runelight, there was a teaser posted yesterday of a Runelight HD teaser. I can't handle it again. Look at it. It looks pretty nice. Now apparently this is a solo project of someone just working with the Runelight client, and I gotta hope, please let me hope that this is just somehow custom shaders, maybe some custom graphics, so that this cannot be removed from Jagex and we can actually play. Okay, next up here, Mod Ghost is the next one to leave Jagex, one of the lead artists. He worked on so many of the iconic PVM bosses, including Zulrah, Vorkath, I think the Abyssal Sire, stuff like that. So a pretty big loss for Jagex, but hopefully they will be hiring more artists very soon. And last up here, there's actually a very interesting interview with Mod Matt K, where they talk about Mod Jed and Jagex. They go in depth about quite a few topics that Mod Matt K couldn't really talk about while he worked there, but now I guess he can. And that's pretty much it for community news this week. Okay, and last up here, this week's Q&A was all about the new Nightmare of Ashihama. So there's a bunch of new images and some information on the boss, which it just got released yesterday. Okay, first up here, will the boss be instanced? Yes, each world will have one instance for the boss for regular accounts and one instance for Ironman. Ironman, however, will have to do this fight with other Ironmen. Do you have to do the most damage to get a unique? Not necessarily. We've tried to avoid the mechanic of competing for damage to get the reward so that it's more of a group-friendly boss. Anyone who does the minimum will get a drop, but depending on how much damage you did, decides the size of your reward. The majority of the drop table, however, will come from the unique rewards rather than everyone getting a lot of loot. It won't be like Zolcano dropping a lot of good drops for everyone. Will the boss be quest locked? No, aside from Priest in Peril to access Mauritania. Why the Scythe statues? It was close by and made sense, ties in thematically with Zamorak and Justice here. Oh, so that is why the Scythe literally went up 100 mil in under an hour yesterday. How large is the Nightmare? It is going to be 5 by 5. Can Ironmen get loot from the Nightmare? Yes, they can, but as mentioned, they can only team up with other Ironmen. Is there a level requirement to start the fight? There's no specific level, but as with anything, having a higher level will give you a better chance of winning. Will Slayer Masters be able to assign this as a boss task? Yes, they will. Will it cost money to get stuff back when you die? Yes, it is an unsafe death and you will have to pay to get your items back. Hardcore Ironman will be killed. Can you control who enters the instance? No, you cannot. Will you roll a pet only when a unique is given? No, it is separate. Will there be a jar? Yes, there will. What is going to be the maximum amount of people in an instance? 80 apparently is the maximum. Will the instance be closed during the fight? Yes, once the fight starts, you won't be able to enter. You'll have to hop worlds or wait until she dies. Can you use the Ring of Life to teleport out of the fight? Yes, you can. What is the recommended team size? They recommend probably the same as the Theater of Blood, so 3 to 4 or maybe 5. Is the boss harder than Verzik? Well, that would be subjective and depending on your skill level, but they would probably say not. Verzik is a raids boss with a higher KO potential. Nightmare has more mechanics but less KO potential. What type of monster is the Nightmare? Vorkath is a dragon, for example. There is no specific type and the Salve Amulet won't work. Is there going to be anything like mutagens? No, there will not be anything. Anyway guys, that is going to be it for today's weekly recap. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I would appreciate it if you took the time to leave the video a like, and I will see you next time.